Casey and the Sports Doctor is brought to you by the MJ Sullivan Automotive Corner. Welcome, sports fans, to another episode of Casey and the Sports Doctor, a show about sports, big and small, where you, the audience at all times, can give us topics for debate or give us your own opinions. I'm Casey O'Neill.
I'm the Sports Doctor, Keith O'Brien. Special thanks once again to Philomena's Restaurant right here in Waterford, Connecticut, for all their hospitality.
Now, you can find our question of the week. Send us your opinions, questions you'd like us to answer, rants, raves, just about anything at all, right there on your screen on Twitter or on Facebook, and let us know what is interesting you in the world of sports. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about Kevin Durant's decision, Pat Summitt's legacy, and Matt Harvey's inconsistency. But before we do that, Sports Doctor, let's pay some bills. MJ Sullivan Hyundai wants you to take the summer off from car payments. 0 payments for 6 months, with the first 3 months on them. Plus 0% financing. Wow. Stop in today for more details. MJ Sullivan Hyundai. All right, Sports Doctor, Kevin Durant just announced that he is heading to the West Coast to play fourth fiddle in the greatest band of regular season history. So I ask you, are the Warriors a better team today than they were a month ago?
In a word, Casey O'Neill, yes, the Warriors are a better team. You're replacing Harrison Barnes with Kevin Durant, who is probably a top 5 player in the league. I understand there's might not be enough balls to go around, but if the team's on the same page, how do you argue that starting 5 in that lineup? Kevin Durant is a stud.
All right, let me tell you
team will be better.
All right, I'll tell you how you argue it. I'm going to be on record as saying that they don't even make the conference finals this year. 60-win team, and I'll tell you why. First of all, what the Golden State Warriors had last year was chemistry. They had all of these parts. They played beautiful basketball. Now, 30 shots that came from somewhere have to go to Kevin Durant. And they lost all of their size. Ezeli is gone. Bogut is gone. The Cavaliers beat him in the finals because of that lack of size. Next year, watch what happens when Steph misses a couple of three-pointers and Durant starts pouting.
With all that, though, the Warriors, you know what they didn't have this year? No ring.
Not going to have one next year either. 60 wins and out.
Casey, this year's American Legion State Tournament will take 2 weeks in the middle of July, forcing some teams to play as many as 37 games in 34 days to accommodate the regular season schedule. Casey, I ask you, is this a good thing?
No, this is a terrible thing. You know, it's ironic because 30 years ago this year, the 1986 New London Legion team went to back-to-back World Series, and they played past Labor Day in that World Series. State tournament took a week, regional tournament took a week, and only one team from every zone made it. Then the schools brought things. You had to go to school before Labor Day. Now the season has become just another version of the high school season. Why don't we just start with no regular season whatsoever, and everybody plays, and we'll just have one giant 80-team tournament?
And I would agree, and especially with all of these questions about pitching and arms and pitch counts and what can young kids handle as far as on the mound goes, I would actually agree with you this time.
Folks, there is nothing wrong with excellence. Let somebody be excellent. Not everybody be just okay. Let somebody win the zone. Go to the state tournament. In a week, crown a champion. Let them go play with the champions from around New England and then to a World Series. Let them play on. 37 games in 34 days just so everyone can play in the state tournament? Come on.
Yeah, and it really kind of takes away from the product of it, too, the on-field stuff. I mean, to me, it's too much cramming in such a short period of time.
Ruined a great legacy. New London Legion, back-to-back World Series. All right, Sports Doctor, it's time for the Highlander segment. There can only be one. Now, Pat Summitt's legacy in college basketball is undeniable, and Gino Auriemma's dynasty is unstoppable. 10 years from now, okay, whose impact will be greater?
That's actually a very good question, Casey. And I would probably have to say Gino Auriemma, because whatever Pat Summitt did originally as a pioneer for the sport, Gino has surpassed that and will surpass that in the next 10 years. 11 national titles. He's got 934 wins right now, I do believe, right around there. And UConn has built a machine, a factory. He will continue to grow the brand of UConn women's basketball. And right now, there's no one, in women's college basketball that's even competing with them right now.
Well, you said the word, and the reason why it's Pat Summitt is because you said the word pioneer. Someday, as unbelievable as Gino Auriemma, he might win 1,300 games, he might win 18 national championships. But someday, 50 years from now, somebody might surpass even that. Nobody will be able to change what Pat Summitt did. When she took over Tennessee basketball, women's basketball wasn't even a sanctioned college sport. She not only won over 1,000 games and 8 national championships, she built it from literally nothing. So without her, there is no Gino Auriemma.
In today's day and age, though, 10 years from now, I'm just afraid some people may have forgotten about Pat Summitt, where Gino might be still doing his thing.
Have you forgotten about Jackie Robinson or Babe Ruth?
I'm from a different era. I'm from a different era.
First is always the best. All right. Overrated or underappreciated? Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey, right now, Matt Harvey's struggling this year, and he seems to be a little bit overrated, Casey. I don't know if it's some of the off-the-field antics you hear about the Dark Knight, maybe too much New York City nightlife, maybe not being in shape as he was in the past few years. But right now, Matt Harvey's struggling out there, and he seems to be a little bit overrated in my book.
Now, completely underappreciated, Sports Doctor. Having an ace, an innings horse that can throw 200 innings at his age is absolutely priceless. Career ERA under 3 of 2.95, and gives up almost less than 3/4 of a hit an inning. This year, the numbers are down a little bit, but just last year, 29 starts, dominated the National League coming off of Tommy John surgery. Let him have some learning curves and give him some time to fully adapt off the Tommy John surgery. The guy is a horse. He's a winner. Everybody from around here knows he's the most competitive guy in the world. He is absolutely right now underappreciated. I'd take him on the Red Sox in a heartbeat.
So would I. But is he doing the right things off the field?
Former Connecticut Sun coach Mike Tebow.
Wow, Mike Tebow, it's certainly a name that will not be forgotten around here in women's basketball professional ranks. The Connecticut Sun, to me, is underappreciated, Casey. Their team is 41-74 since Coach Tebow had been dismissed. I mean, there's a guy you're talking about 200 wins in 10 seasons, averaged 20 seasons a year, 20 wins a year, 2 trips to the finals. And it just seems like the program has struggled to find the right mix since he's been dismissed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's underappreciated or overrated. I think what it is apathetic. Around here, the people just don't seem to care like they used to. And part of it is because you mentioned 2 finals, didn't win either of them. And so the current regime can't win championships. He couldn't win championships. Those regular season wins are great, but at the end of the day, the Connecticut Sun looks up and Connecticut expects championships. There's Gino Auriemma's legacy to the Connecticut Sun. The people of Connecticut expect championships.
Well, we're comparing the Connecticut Sun to the UConn women team. I mean, what does the Mohegan Sun, what do the Connecticut Sun want out of their basketball team? Do they want a novelty act where they fill the arena when Brianna Stewart comes in there? Or do they want a winning pedigree team that the state can be proud of?
But it doesn't really matter what they want, because what's going to happen is the people of Connecticut are only interested in going and seeing the Connecticut UConn players. They could care less if, you know, Griner or you know, someone comes in from another team. They're all about UConn. They should just draft all the UConn players and be done with it. All right. Overrated or underappreciated, the 50-point rule in high school football.
Overrated, Casey. 50-point rule, in my opinion, is overrated because, you know, it's been put in place due to sportsmanship. And, you know, we've both seen games this year in the high school ranks where teams have just flat out taken knees, possession after possession after possession, not to score, you know, outscore their opponents by more than 50. So what's more embarrassing, a team scoring a touchdown or a team sitting down and just taking knee after knee after knee if you're an opponent? To me, the 50-point rule is a little bit overrated.
Tell you what it is, it's unnecessary. Unnecessary is what it is. This year, while we did games on game day, we saw kids fall down at the goal line so as to not score. We saw coaches take a knee for an entire quarter. We've seen coaches intentionally get a safety to try to lure the other team into the 50-point rule. And the reality is, I'm from a school of thought that believes if you're getting beat that bad, work harder and get better. But if you're not able to compete, then it's up to the athletic directors with their coaches to say, why are we scheduling teams that can't stay within 50 points of us? And if I was an athletic director, and I happen to have one as my father who was a great athletic director, he would have been in that coach's office and he would have said, what are you doing? Why are we even at that 50-point level? But the officials can run the clock, which is what they're going to try to do this year, and it's more complicated than my tax code. I mean, they're just over-legislating when all it should be is, guys, let's just go out there and play football, and let's not overreact to the occasional bad score.
Yeah, and it's very hard to tell a freshman or a sophomore who gets a crack in a varsity game to take a knee or not try or not score a touchdown. Very difficult to do that.
Well, pretty soon you're going to see the scores come 48-0, and then all of a sudden the clock's going to run and then they're going to jump to 60-0 over legislation. You know what, Sports Doctor? I think that we pretty much can agree that I won that one.
You win everything, Casey. Doctor's Notes, brought to you by Jordan Chiropractic. So for the past 3 years, I've been involved with broadcasting high school sports. Play-by-play, color commentary, coaches' interviews, and feature stories. And without question, outside of doing something I truly love, it's the relationship I built with the kids that's the most rewarding. A lot of great kids and some really good athletes as well. Many of them with big dreams of playing college sports. According to NCAA.org, there are roughly 8 million student athletes nationwide, year in and year out. Out of those 8 million, how many would you think end up going to college to play sports? 50%? 25%? Let's say 2 million? No. How about 6%? Yes, that's right, 6%. Only about 480,000 of the 8 million go on to play college sports. So what separates the 480,000 from the 8 million? Sure, talent has a lot to do with it, but talent only gets you so far. It's the extra effort and extra time that one puts in the classroom that makes him or her go on to play sports in college. I recently caught up with a young man who just graduated high school this past summer. He was a very good local high school basketball player, and he's attending prep school next fall. I said, good for him, find your path, continue your career. He looked at me and he said, quote, Keith, he said, talent only gets you so far. He said, some of these colleges won't even look at you if you don't have the grades. Alarming, isn't it? So my message to the 8 million nationwide and the many kids who play high school sports here in southeastern Connecticut is no books, no looks. And that is your note from the doctor. Jordan Chiropractic specializes in athletic injuries by combining a number of services and techniques centered on sports chiropractic care. Each individual's treatments are customized to give the best outcome for quick injury recovery and preventative rehabilitation. Special emphasis is placed on allowing the athlete to continue their training program while the injury is healing.
So last week, I took the stance that LeBron James was a more dominant player than two-time Gatorade Player of the Year, Caroline Tabor, and the Sports Doctor, being the good friend that he is, decided he would set up that challenge. And I, as an aging veteran baseball player, defended the honor of all of us over 40-year-olds today, and I went out to find out just how good Caroline Tabor is.
Here we go, Caroline, here we go.
Yeah, that's fast. All right. Whoa! Oh! All right, that was 1, 2, 3 right there, right?
Close, Case.
All right. Let's 1 out in the first. Oh, and I knew it was coming too. Oh, shit. I knew it was coming. I sat on the changeup, and I still couldn't stop myself. So kids did get hits off of you, right? Anyone out there right now, if you got a hit off of Caroline Tabor, please call me. I'd like to converse with you on how that happened.
The real underdog in this story.
I
know it's coming.
So I think the message from all of this is clear. It is possible to weakly make contact after maybe a dozen pitches while also looking foolish on many more of those pitches. So I have faced professional pitchers, college pitchers, people who have thrown 90 miles an hour, and I've always wondered, what is it like to face an elite softball pitcher? And I found out today, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, she throws gas with exceptional pitches. And if you've ever wondered if you could hit a pitcher of the caliber of Caroline Tabor, the answer is probably no. With that, it is our pleasure to bring in two-time Gatorade Player of the Year and defending state champion, and more importantly, Princeton-bound, Caroline Tabor.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
That's heavy duty. Princeton-bound, your senior season. You go out in style this year, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only way to go out.
ECC championship, state chip as well, on top of the world. You're making the rounds a little bit here, a little banquet tour, and welcome to Casey and the Sports Doctor.
Thank you, thank you.
So, you have done something which is very difficult, and it the sports doctor just talked about, the grades, and clearly you have them. So I'm curious, what was the more rigorous path for you to become an elite athlete, a state champion athlete, or the academic road necessary to get into an Ivy school like Princeton?
I would definitely say it's the academic road, because the sport, like, everyone loves to play their favorite sport. It's like, that's what you go out and do. And like, even practicing for the sport, or like lifting and conditioning, it's like, it all just makes you better at the sport. But I don't know a single person who looks forward to coming home from a game and reading a chapter about electrochemistry. Like, that's definitely the hardest part, is keeping up with the grades.
So the sports, the actual on-field softball stuff you thought was easy?
Yeah, like, that's like, I enjoy it. Like, I love to do it. Like, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing.
Undefeated season this year, and it wasn't an easy road for you girls.
Definitely
I mean,
not.
it was, a trip up to Southington, 2 long extra inning games, the regular season against NFA, a nail-biter in the ECC championship. First let's start with the Southington game. Going up there, taking on, 77-game winning streak. What's the mood of the team going up to Southington?
I think on the way up, we just had to try and keep it light. Like, we were playing music, trying to dance to it, trying to keep it all in the back of our heads, but you could definitely tell there was a different intensity that game going up there.
So back when I would travel to games, it was Albie Shore and Stevie B. What's the music of the Fitch softball team heading to Southington?
We're big fans of Danza Kuduro, which is a song that is not in English. I couldn't tell you what language it is, but it's pretty peppy. And then they like a lot of rap music, a lot of Drake and Future, Jumpman.
You
definitely.
like Drake?
No.
You don't like Drake.
But yeah,
I like Drake's cakes.
Yeah,
Big fan of those.
All right, so extra inning game, down, 1-0 to, I'm sorry, ECC championship game.
Bottom of the 7th.
Bottom of the 7th. 2 outs, down a run. Did you ever at that time think that you were going to lose? And would the trip through the state tournament would have been different if you guys lost that game?
I think it would have been, just seeing how, because my sophomore year when we won the state championship, we also lost in ECCs to NFA.
Wow.
So
okay.
I think if we had lost, we would have used it as a motivating factor again, like how we had sophomore year. So.
Okay, so a loss at that time you don't think would have hindered you guys on a run to?
I don't think so, especially because we had so much respect for NFA. Like, we knew they were a team of our caliber, so it's like, if you're going to lose to someone, might as well be to someone as good as NFA.
So my son, in the junior voice of game day, 8 years old, insisted that he was very curious. He's practicing to be a pitcher right now, so he wanted me to ask you, who taught you how to pitch?
I taught myself, and it was horrendous at first. I started learning how to pitch when I was 10 years old, because my Little League All-Star team needed a pitcher, and we didn't have anyone in my age group, so I was like, why not? And I probably had the worst mechanics of anyone to ever throw a softball. So it started out as me, but then eventually I was like, oh, I kind of have a knack for this. I should look into it. And eventually I started going to pitching coaches.
You play a lot of travel softball.
Oh, yeah,
we
all the
talked
time.
about that a little earlier. Has that made you a better player?
Definitely, 100%, because with travel ball, you're just playing all these players who love softball as much as I do and play all the time, and some of them are going to crazy softball schools. So you're facing the best of the best in travel ball.
And you talked about playing up against a girl who's going to Oregon. So you have to get out and see what kind of talent is really out there. Do you accept that challenge playing at Princeton? Does that scare you at all?
It's definitely intimidating at first, but then I'm like, I'm here for a reason. Like, there's a reason why they recruited me. I must have done something right somewhere along the way.
So I know what you want to do athletically at Princeton, okay? And we had talked a little bit off camera about what the coach at Princeton said you needed to do to get better there. What are you looking to accomplish academically at Princeton?
I'm definitely looking to push myself academically, because, no offense to Fitch is a great high school and I learned so much, but I really want to take classes that are like not offered like in a typical like high school classroom. Like, I really like history classes, especially like history of like Africa, like something like that you wouldn't typically see in like high school classroom, or just more extensive labs and things like that the college can offer that high school just can't. So I'm looking forward to that.
The importance of these last 4 years in your entire high school sporting career, with the success, the importance of that pushing you through life.
I think it's just been great to learn that your teammates are always there for you, and I think it's not just necessarily teammates in that sense. Like, it's also like you can rely on your family and friends like to be there for you when you need something. Like, because my teammates obviously became like family to me, but it definitely opened my eyes to being like, you can't like do these types of things alone. Like, you can't just pitch yourself to a state championship on your own. Like, you need to have someone producing hits, and I think life's kind of the same way. Like, you can't just go it alone. Like, you got to have friends and family who have your back.
So whether you know this or not, and you're very humble, but there's an entire generation of young softball girls out there in southeastern Connecticut who would desperately want to be you. What would you say to the 8-year-old softball player out there who says, I really, really want to be like Caroline Tabor?
I think the first thing would be, do not let your failures stick around too long in your head, because the first game I ever pitched was against New London in All-Star season, and we were up 4-0, and then I literally walked everyone to lose 5-4. So I just think it's like you just have to continue to keep working hard, and if it's something you love to do, then go out and practice with your dad or your mom, or like get someone to catch for you. And it's all about just like your inner drive, like work as hard as you want to, like don't push yourself if it's not your favorite thing. But yeah, like you can accomplish it if you just want to keep trying.
Are you upset that Casey actually made contact against you?
No, I'm not upset. I know like eventually people like, especially with the fastballs, like people time them,
Yeah,
they hit him. So.
Yeah.
He didn't have any base hits, so it
I mean,
doesn't matter.
he didn't really hit the ball out of the infield. So.
Yeah, he didn't get anything off the ground.
Let's be clear about something. Okay, you're younger than me.
Sure.
You're far more talented than me, and you're going to Princeton, which means you're probably smarter than me.
I am not going to disagree with any of this.
I was prepared to not like you at all, but you were very gracious in not embarrassing me any more than I already embarrassed myself out there, and you are impossible not to root for. So
Thank you.
Tremendous role model as well to young people out there. Very
Thank you. It means a lot.
Yeah.
So, Caroline Tabor, everybody, Fitch High School defending state champion and 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year.
A class act kid.
Voice of Reason, brought to you by Motorsports Nation. Running is popular, even hip these days, as there are electric runs, bubble runs, family runs, runs that involve glitter, neon, mud, soap, and rock and roll stars playing in the background. In other words, a run for everyone. Well, most people know that I only ran when there was a scoreboard, a ball, and an opponent, and even then, not very well, which is probably why I was sort of minimizing and maybe even dismissive of running as a community and a sport. Well, fast forward to now, and through my wife and son, I have been witness to more acts of courage, humanity, and community through running than I ever thought possible. One group in particular, Run 169 Towns, they're a society, and their goal is to run all 169 towns in Connecticut. That's 169 separate races. Well, they have embraced my wife and really gained my admiration. Now, for some of these folks, it's a larger goal to run in all 50 states, and if you're like my wife, the goal to run, maybe even the dream to run, on every continent. If you ever doubt the humanity in the world, go to the end of a race, and there you will see this Love Actually phenomenon with strangers cheering alongside families and friends, all united in one common goal. And then stories start to emerge. The widowed wife who is running for her now deceased husband, or the military veteran who is running on his new prosthetics, or the diabetic who has lost 100 pounds and is literally running for their life. Children crossing the finish line with their mom or their dad, signs held high, people cheering, laughing, and hugging. At the end of a race, there is triumph and there is unity. And the 169ers are a part of that community. At the end of a race, well, you can measure the accomplishment, but you can't measure the humanity. Thank you, 169ers. Keep on running and keep spreading the love. Motorsports Nation in Waterford, Plainfield, and Rehoboth, Mass., offering the best deals on motorcycles, ATVs, utility vehicles, scooters, and personal watercraft. If you like discounts, you'll love Motorsports Nation. Visit them at www.motorsportsnation.com and make sure you ask for Kyle, Scott, or my man Vern. Well, it's time to see what you, the viewers, thought of our question of the week. If you could change any rule in high school, college, or professional sports, what would it be? But before we do that, time, Sports Doctor, for a little feedback right here. We got a little feedback last week. The sports doctors are homers. It says, I listened to the Sports Doctors show. Hey, congratulations. And on who are some of the greatest athletes that came out of southeastern Connecticut, and they failed to mention Mike Spellman, who pitched every tournament game and won the state tournament all on his own. Evidently, no one else was playing with Mike Spellman. And Ricky Morello, who averaged 29 points a game. Also, Wayne Lawrence, who was an All-American at Texas A&M and cut by the Celtics. Well, I want to thank you, Robert, for letting us know that those were people that we forgot. And since it was the question of the week, you answered it. Thank you for helping us out. Homers?
Yeah, I mean, you're a New London homer.
Well, first of all, if you watch the segment with Caroline Tabor, you know that me and homers doesn't go in the same breath at all. More like weak ground balls.
You are a little previous to New London sports, though.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the feedback from all of y'all, the answers to the question of the week. We got Answer Sports Doctor on golf, basketball, hockey, and soccer, football, and baseball. A wealth of people who made suggested rule changes.
So many people with input who, like certain things, don't like other things, and, it's nice to see the different angles of sports and suggestions, and some of the stuff is over the top, and some of the stuff is right down our alley, Casey.
Well, a lot of people thought that both in hockey and soccer, where they should change the offsides rules in youth sports, and in basketball, some people thought you should get rid of the three-point line, get rid of the 3 seconds, no more 5 seconds. Some people suggested moving the basket up. But a popular one, Melissa Ciappone, we're calling you out. You said, you know what, there needs to be a shot clock back in both girls and boys basketball.
Amen to you, Melissa. I've been saying this for years. I mean, especially girls basketball, but even boys basketball needs a shot clock. These games in the fourth quarter, it just seems like they stall for some reason. I like the shot clock. I like the fast-paced game, Case.
In baseball, there were some suggestions, merge the AL and the NL, bring back the mercy rule in professional sports, a pitch limit in high school baseball, that's coming, and eliminate the DH rule. A lot of people said, you know what, get rid of the DH.
I kind of like the DH. I think it adds a little extra flavor to the game. I mean, I've got no desire to see a pitcher bat in a ninth spot, and there's 2 or 3 good hitting pitchers in the league, but for the most part, it's an automatic out. I like the DH, Casey.
I was at the Nationals game on Saturday night, and I never need to see another pitcher hit ever again. In football, we had one particular comment. We're going to give a shout out to Jim Spellman because he gave us a comment about a rules change in football.
Yeah, Jim Spellman writes, an eliminate football ban on blocking below the waist outside of the tackle box. He says no concrete study has curtailed injuries to knees by impact with that kind of blocking. He says, plus it has turned high school football into a game which is less stacked. Shorter players have been deprived of necessary blocking techniques. So a lot of good feedback from Jim as well.
Now, golf was a very popular one as well. Bill Simon suggested getting rid of the out-of-bounds rule in professional golf, not stroke and distance. He likes sort of the casual amateur approach to where the ball goes in, line of sight, drop, take the stroke penalty.
How about a club length out of the woods? Can I get a club length?
You can. My old friend Todd Uckel said that all the rules in golf at this point pretty much need to be overhauled. Like, why is signing a scorecard automatically disqualified if it's a false scorecard, if there's no malice? Why do we have to limit the amount of clubs you have in the bag? You want 40 clubs? Use 40 clubs. Well, he says make it 41. It doesn't matter to him.
What is he going to have?
But speed up the time on the greens, Todd says. He's like, these guys, they take forever on the greens. But my personal favorite was from J.J. Koning. J.J. said if you hit it down the fairway and you're in a divot, it should be a free drop. And let me tell you something, JJ. I've seen you hit a golf ball. And when you hit it as far as you do, you deserve everything you get. That long, don't come asking favors from guys like me and the sports doctor. The way we hit it, we should get relief from the divots. When you're out where you are, you take all the chances that you get.
Hey, JJ, you drive for show, you putt for dough. MJ Sullivan has a great lease deal on a 2016 Hyundai Sonata SE. No money down and only $259 a month for 36 months. Or get a lease deal on a 2017 Hyundai Elantra SE with only $2,000 down and only $175 a month for 36 months. Stop in for more details. You can see these and other summer deals always at mjsullivanauto.com.
Well, that was all of the answers to this week's mailbag. We can't thank you enough for all of those responses. Make sure each and every week you're checking out on Twitter at the Sports Dr. CT, that's Sports DRCT, or on Facebook at Game Day Connecticut Sports. Pay attention, coming up soon will be the next question of the week. But you know what? Let's get a little innovative. Why don't you send a video rant or an audio rant? We'll play it on the air. Be specific with the things you want to see, and we will bring it to you. Now, the next show, 2 weeks on July 20th, right here at Philomena's Restaurant. So as always, we want to thank Philomena's, and we want to thank you, the sports doctor.
We set things up pretty good with Caroline Tabor today. She did a fantastic job showing up my partner, Casey O'Neill.
I will tell you that if I had a good 30 or 40 more at-bats, I might have gotten one out of the infield.
40 more at-bats?
That's all for us. He's the sports doctor. I'm Casey O'Neill.
Boom!